Crime Curious is a true crime podcast that takes an in-depth look into real cases. The content may be triggering or inappropriate for some audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Crime Curious. I'm Charnell.
And I'm Megan.
And welcome to just a fucking fun episode, you guys.
We're well into Shocktober.
We are, and we're going to have fun with you today because holy shit have I been covering some really heavy, gruesome things.
They've been intense.
They have, and I just think that spooky season comes with, we can have a little bit of fun here.
Yeah, well, they've driven me to drink. And speaking of drinks, I decided that since it's Shocktober, I needed to pick, and also I've been drinking. I needed to pick us up something special. So there is a great, I give up. I'm out. There's a great winery in the state of Michigan called Leelanau Cellars. And I love Leelanau Cellars because they are up near where my daughter lives.
Yes.
Who's the chef. And it's called Witch's Brew. So it's a red wine with spices and so literally good. The cap, drink up witches.
Drink up witches.
So,
and this witch will drink up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's 12.5% alcohol by volume.
Is that all? That's what we're clocking in at, huh?
That is what we're clocking in at.
All right.
And yeah, good luck to all of you while you're listening to us deal with this case while we drink this bottle.
That's right. But I have a fun thing for us today.
Oh, no child abuse cases?
No.
Nobody's going to be locked in a closet or a box?
Nope. I'm giving our hearts a fucking break, everybody. And also, while we kind of toy with the idea of a spin-off show from Crime Curious here, I think this gives us some ideas.
Some of you may be aware that this has been something we've been thinking about, but you might just have kind of a first look.
I think this is kind of a sneak peek, minus Jason,
who will be there.
Who will be there? But we are we're toying with a spin-off show where maybe we feature a drink of choice and then just cover some random fucking shit. And that's
which we do.
We do, but it doesn't necessarily have to be true crime related, but it could still going to be funny and interesting. And that's kind of what I'm bringing us today, but it is still crimey-esque.
We're going to make it crimey.
This is definitely spooky.
Okay. I love stuff like this.
Today, you know I don't.
I
so
know.
This is like Charnell reaching into the deep inner cockles of her soul.
You said cockle.
I did.
Is that even a fucking word?
Yeah, we have a cockle. It's there somewhere.
The cockle of your soul?
You've never heard that before?
Yeah, cockle is a shellfish, cockles and mussels, and you can eat them. I feel like, are you making up the part of your soul, or is there a part of your soul that's a shellfish?
Possibly. I
Does
do
it have
love
a pearl?
seafood.
Me too. I have found the pearl of your soul.
You have.
It's in your cockle.
It's deep in my cockle. That's where my pearl is hidden. Men can never find it, you know?
I know. It's elusive. It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Gotta be in just right position.
Yeah. And if there's a pearl, then that means there were beads and...
Oh, yeah. This all tracks.
It does.
This actually is making a lot of fucking sense right now.
It does. Here, finish your drink so I can pour you more.
Get more witch's brew in me. But this episode today is about the lore of banshees.
Oh.
Now, I feel like we have all heard of a banshee. Okay. But do you actually know what a banshee is?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me what you have heard that a banshee is.
I believe that a banshee is kind of like a female spirit type thing that has a very loud scream or obnoxious noise that may come out to haunt you or to protect something. And I believe it possibly even originated from ancient Greek culture.
You're very, very close.
Okay.
But that is why I wanted to cover this.
Okay, I'm excited.
There are some inconsistencies there that I'll clear up for you.
Good.
Now, we've heard the saying screaming like a banshee before.
Yes.
Yeah, like a lot of kids. I used to get in trouble all the time from my grandparents if I was screaming when I was playing.
Why are you screaming like a banshee?
Yep.
Yeah.
They'd come out and be so angry. Now, as an adult, I understand kids screaming is alarming. Right?
It should be.
I made Grandpa get up from his table where he was smoking his cig and bird watching to come check and make sure I wasn't being murdered.
You ruined his relaxation.
Grandpa Milton, I'm so sorry because now I get it. Yes. But I did scream like a banshee as a child.
I believe that.
And where this comes from is that a banshee is usually described. My resources are in the show notes, everybody. There's so much good research out there, but I really liked Celtic Life International. Allthat'sinteresting.com did a really great covering recently of banshees, and Connecticut Ghost Hunter did a good job as well.
Oh,
so
fun.
just wanted to throw out some sources there for you to check out.
Just to throw out a hypothesis before you get started, could I possibly be correct that a banshee might be a version of a siren in Greek mythology too?
They never mention anything Greek. It's actually Irish.
Right, but it's comparison to sirens are
Mm-hmm.
Greek.
They are.
And then a banshee's from your Irish lore.
I do think that it could have derived very similarly from that, because you were right. It is always a woman.
Yes.
And she is always described as either being always screaming or singing. But she's definitely making noise.
Sirens sing to lead men to their deaths.
They do. But this is where it differs. Banshees do not bring death.
No?
Nope. Banshees,
Now I kind of don't like them as much.
they simply warn you
Of
that
impending death?
death is upon your family. Might not be you, but death is coming, and they are a warning ahead of time.
No wonder your
according to-
grandparents don't like it when you scream like a banshee in the
For
front
sure.
yard. They don't know
Especially
what's
not-
coming.
Well, and they were in their 70s at the time. They thought, fuck,
good
it's
God.
me.
What is she bringing to me?
Yes.
What am I being warned of?
I get it. I'm so sorry, Milton and Wanda.
Those are great grandparent names.
I know.
Remember Norma and Jack and Phyllis and Don.
I had Milton, Wanda, Gerald, and Luis.
Yeah, we have all good like 1930s names
We
right there.
sure do. Bless God, rest their souls. So much like the Grim Reaper, the Banshee is believed to be an escort to the land of the dead. But instead of bringing death, they're just warning of it, okay? So to truly understand what seeing this spirit is like, we have to understand about more how it operates. So according to allthat'sinteresting.com, banshees bring like a death coach and a comb.
A comb?
Not a comb how we describe it. I think it's more like a comb of like meaning what's in there. Hold on. We got to look this up.
A comb? What do you want me to
Look
look
up a death comb.
Okay, I'm looking it up.
Because I meant to do that. I actually even have a note in my notes about looking it up and forgot to look it up. So instead of appearing only to the doomed.
Comb spelled like the kind that combs your hair?
Yeah, C-O-M-B. Instead of operating like the doomed, the Banshee is said to wail a warning for the entire family to know that one of them is about to die. According to Irish folklore, what is it? What's a comb?
Nothing comes up as death comb, but what does come up is combing torture.
Oh.
So Wiki is going to describe this as combing, sometimes known as carding, despite carding being a completely different process, is a sometimes fatal form of torture in which iron combs designed to prepare wool and other fibers for woolen spinning are used to scrape, tear, and flay the victim's flesh.
Oh.
Iron combs have rough fibers, and these instruments resembled miniature garden rakes. This goes back to both Herodotus, which is your Greek stuff. This is a torturous death by combing was a nephos, was inflicted by Croesus, was recorded by Herodotus. And then it later mentions from the Middle East and Asia Minor, often associate combing with heroic martyrdom for the sake of belief in the Abrahamic God and loyalty to one's Jewish, Christian, or Muslim faith.
Oh.
That is the only thing I can see that comes up regarding death by comb.
So I'm actually
There is
wondering
this
if
too,
it's-
though, that says, this is worldstagepress.org. Death by comb commands the heart to open and the soul to evoke emotion, centered around the trials and triumphs of, and this one is black women in this particular example. So very interesting.
I'm wondering if it's a symbol, because it says the Banshee's tale involves a death coach. So like a coach to carry you over, and a comb. So I'm thinking this is a symbol, almost like how like King Triton had his staff in The Little Mermaid that was like part of his you know, thing. So I wonder if
death has its
comb.
hook, has its shepherd's hook, or something symbolic like that.
So I think, that would track with the comb being a part of torture that brings death essentially, right?
And this is potentially something that takes you over into the afterlife.
It does.
Yeah, I guess you have to realize, and I'll apologize to everybody, but I have a minor in ancient Greek culture, something totally useless that I picked up.
Yeah, good for you.
I love it. I love everything about it. And
Right.
Chiron, or Karen, however you want to pronounce his name, would take people over on a boat across the river Styx over into the underworld. And then, of course, there were multiple options there as to where you would go.
Yep.
So maybe something similar like that, like you said, an implement
Yes.
of death.
That is exactly how I'm interpreting it. Yep.
I
I
dig
think
this.
so. So what we know about the Banshee is that it's, like I said, it's a wail of the warning. And now Irish folklore, though, call it some different things. So there's a bean sidhe, or a woman of fairyland, and it admits that ear-splitting cry. The fairy allegedly warns of the coming doom and is an omen of death. There are varying ideas about her appearance, and I have seen this. The appearance of a banshee is very widely argued, I
Agreed.
would say. Okay.
I've heard it both ways.
There are some things that stay the same, though, always. It's a woman, always. She has long hair. It might be silver, red, white, or gray. But in other depictions, she might even be completely headless. And we'll get to that
Hard
in a
to
minute.
scream without a mouth.
That's what I thought. I'm like, okay. In various instances, she is described as dressed in a silver, green, black, or white dress. She may also have a shroud, a veil, or a cloak covering her face.
That I've seen and heard.
Mm-hmm. Seen personally?
Yeah, often.
Okay.
My shower.
Okay, we're going to talk in a second.
No,
when
it's
I
just
get
sometimes
to personal,
the cat attacks me, and then my face goes in through the clear plastic shower as a curtain as I'm trying to get
you
out.
become a banshee.
I've become the Banshee, or however we pronounce that. Since I'm Irish, I might as well use it.
Right.
Yes, and then I am wrapped in a curtain on the ground, being attacked by a cat, screaming.
Thanks
so
to okay, but
There we
not
go.
really a pending death other than your own.
I think that's
essentially.
accurate, and I can impend my own doom with my screams.
You might. Reportedly, if she is headless, only in the situations where people describe her as being headless, she carries a bowl of blood and is naked from the waist up. Of course, her tits are hanging out.
Mine are when I was in the shower falling out as
Right.
well, and I wasn't holding a bowl of blood that time.
But you also had your head. It's only in the instances where she's headless that she's holding a bowl of blood, probably catching it from her own neck. Because she likes to keep shit tidy.
The bowls of blood and buckets of blood have a lot of really great inferences throughout multicultural,
Yes.
supernatural things. In fact, we're going to get to one of the next episodes that I present to you that you're going to find really interesting. So
Megan's
find this
doing
interesting.
an episode.
I'm deep diving into this shit so bad right now. I'm just not ready to present it yet.
So sometimes red glowing eyes are also a part of her description. Sometimes she is allegedly a young woman, which I was like, you know what? So sometimes she hit some of the cannabis the night before.
Right.
I get it. Look, whatever. There she is.
Do you grow weed in Ireland? Is it too cold, guys?
Oh, I'd like to know.
Me too. Do we have Irish listeners?
Yes.
If so, please send all of your suggestions orally.
We have Irish Patreons.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, she
I like
is
their
so
voices.
Irish. Her name is actually Kate.
Well, mine's Megan,
I love her to death.
but I don't
She
have.
writes us.
Kate, do you have red hair?
Oh, let's ask her. Kate, write us. Do you have red hair? And also, do you guys grow weed in Ireland?
Right.
We want to know.
And have you ever seen a banshee?
Yes. Tell us about your Banshee folklore. I will do a follow-up. So sometimes the Banshee is said to be a young woman. Sometimes, and this,
Or a crone?
you guys, this showed up a lot. A washerwoman who was
Really?
washing blood out of clothes. Yep. But other times she's an older woman as well. So, basically it could be anyone. Young, old, washing clothes, not washing clothes. We're just women in general.
But
are
washing blood out of clothes?
blood. It's always blood. In every different variation that I could find, there's a lot of references to washerwomen and washing blood. And we'll actually get to a Scottish version as well.
Of course.
And that comes up also of the blood washing.
Yeah, it's not just Scottish. That's multicultural, and it's really interesting because a lot of these feel like blood carries spirits that have been released from someplace. And then, of course, the screaming was allegedly coming during the washing. So something was... But
in a morning.
Okay, so this time she wasn't forecasting an imminent death, but it was a mourning wail. Wail as in W-A-I-L, not the kind with the tail and the spout.
Correct, yes. While some of these descriptions are disturbing, legend has it that the Banshee doesn't cause death. That is the important distinction in all of this, is that like Banshees don't kill. They're not bringers of doom. They are simply warners. They are warning of the impending doom, which is almost more terrifying to me.
Like a crow.
Yeah.
In certain legends.
Yes. But, or like if you've ever seen Practical Magic, love me some Sandy B.
Me too. And
the
Nicole
Death
Kidman.
Watch Beetle. I love Nicole too. Yeah.
Well, Sandy made the movie, but still.
She did. But
the Death Watch Beetle. Sure.
I'm currently rocking Nicole Kidman's bangs from that movie.
You are. But see, what you liked about that and noticed with the Death Watch Beetle is that it does chirp or whatever before that.
It does. It screams.
Bad thing would happen.
Yes, it was a high pitched.
So you have a Banshee. So they exist in different cultures anyway.
Yep. So the thing is, though, is that despite some of the descriptions that go along with them, Banshees weren't all considered in every folklore to be vengeful or hateful. Some were said to be beautiful creatures who sang a song that was filled with love and concern for their families over their upcoming death, which is how me as social worker Charnell would prefer to remember them by. And if I'm visited by one, I would prefer that she's singing to me instead of screaming to me. But sometimes that can feel very similar. I mean, I like all genres of music. Some of the music I listen to is screaming.
Me too. I also love me some screamo death metal every once in a while, right? Bring on the Five Finger Death Punch, and then let's go back to Sarah McLachlan. I'm fine with either.
Yep.
I feel like it would almost be more terrifying to me to wake up to see a beautiful young woman at the end of my bed softly singing. I think I'm more mentally prepared for the screaming hag at the end of my bed because at least I know there's danger ahead. The other one makes me feel moderately comforted in a way that I don't like. And also, why are you here, bitch? And why do you look so pretty? And my husband's next to me and I don't like it.
I love everything about that statement. You're so right. I too would respond better to the ugly hag who's screaming at me than the beautiful woman singing about impending doom, because I'd be like, I'm sorry, are you here to seduce my husband? I know he's really good looking, but bitch, he's already taken.
I just identify with the ugly hag more, and I feel like she needs my love.
You're right. I'm throwing bows with the pretty one. You're so right.
Throwing bows. Spoken like true competitive cheerleaders. Knuckles to you.
Yes.
We're like totally over here.
Yep.
Oh my God, we're throwing bows after the game.
Throw bows at you. I was thinking elbows, but
you went right to competitive cheer with it. You were too. So you know what I mean.
But I was a little bit more ghetto with it because I was like, I'm going to literally throw an elbow into this bitch's nose, make it crooked so she's not so beautiful anymore.
I just ruined gangster rap, Charnell. I am so sorry that I went to yuppie cheerleader bows instead of throwing elbows. I'm so sorry, listeners.
I'm a scrappy little bitch, though. So
you probably could bite an ear off of me easily. And potentially some significant scratches.
Yeah. I did recently cut my nails.
I actually did too.
Regularly, I could probably assault you with my fingernails. If I
believe it could happen. Here, let me pour you some more.
This is why I love you. You went to cheerleader hair bows when I was
so sorry.
Total actual violence.
Hi, I'm Megan and I'm a little vanilla sometimes. Charnell's working on getting me some Neapolitan going on here, and I'm so vanilla.
Hey, I'm Charnell, and I'm a little ghetto sometimes. We'll throw hands with someone.
Yeah, I would have understood, apparently, but you said throw bows, and I just went right to the cheer bow.
I do love that about you. I'm leaving all of that in, because people need to know how fucking sweet you can be sometimes, man. I mean, I know verbally,
I'm a joy.
You can verbally assault someone with words that most people have never heard of before.
I don't need to assault people physically.
No,
I have my words.
Do it with your words
and my mind.
Yep, it's 100% true. But I love that when I said bows, you went straight to the cute hair kind.
I just spirit fingers. Don't spit your wine out. Spitters are quitters. Don't do it.
I swallowed it. It's good. The words my husband likes to hear.
Yeah, whose doesn't? Male listeners out here every way to be patriarchal. Let's get back to the matriarchal that is Irish Banshee.
Our Irish Banshee here. I'm going to go to ConnecticutGhostLore.com.
Oh, cool.
So,
is he a real guy? Can we meet with him?
Author of ConnecticutGhostLore.com. Hit us up. Yes. They say that the first traditional stories of banshees appeared in the 8th fucking century about women known as keeners who sang mournful songs to lament someone's death. Some keeners were said to be sinners because they accepted alcohol as payment. Fucking cheers to that.
Big time. Literally clicking of glasses.
We are keeners. I would accept alcohol as payment.
Okay, sinner.
I know. Jesus drank wine. That's all I'm going to say. He also turned water into wine.
I was just going to say, he didn't just drink wine. He made it.
Okay. So this was
This is way pre-Jesus, though.
This is 8th century.
And you know what? Men, and I'll use that term as a plural, but we'll just say men, had to come up with things to explain things that women did that were mysterious to them.
Mm-hmm. Like accepting alcohol as payment. Bitch, they had to accept alcohol as payment to put up with your dirty stank ass.
Exactly.
It's the 8th fucking century.
I bet people were hired to do this, like kind of like paid mourners.
Yeah.
Or these are women of ill repute who are mourning, singing these songs, and then they get these, payment of alcohol and probably other things. So, but again, men of that time came up with all kinds of interesting explanations to these of origins of mythological beasts like this to explain normal things that were happening. Don't even get me into what happens with your menstrual cycle and what they came to explain that as.
Yep. Ooh, that would be a great topic for our spinoff show.
Oh, absolutely.
It has
Let's
to
talk
happen.
about how dirty us bitches are every once a month,
That's
right?
right.
And that's not even talking about the blood. That's just talking about what might happen to you.
Yep. So here's the thing though. If you were a woman who accepted alcohol as payment in the 8th century, then you were said to be punished by being doomed to become a banshee. Listen, I think becoming a banshee sounds like a hell of a good fucking time. I'm not bringing death, but I'm just going to let you know that it'll happen. And in some situations, I'm being described as being very beautiful with long hair. Fucking sign me up for that.
Even the gray hair I'll take.
Yeah. Also, I'm just screaming at people. Love it. Give me a reason.
Jesus, Charnell, am I actually a paid banshee?
Motherfucker. Did I hire a banshee to replace my old co-host?
I think you might have. I think that's me. I think I'm her.
Shit.
And I'm Irish.
She is me. I am her. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we
I don't have
both?
an H in Megan because I spelled it the right way, but still of the right descent.
That's true.
Pale.
Me too.
Freckles.
Mm-hmm. Irish.
The blonde's a little bleached, but things match.
It does. I'm dying right now.
Oh,
Fucking
fuck.
A.
You know what? You don't even have to take it out. It's fine.
I won't.
You don't have to.
I won't. This is an unedited episode. We'll just call it Crime Curious Unscripted, unedited, and completely unraveled.
Right. And if none of you watch it, we're releasing it on OnlyFans and Pornhub later in the week. Pornhub has more than porn, Charnell.
I didn't know that.
They do.
Do they really?
Yeah, but don't actually try to
Can
look
I
it up.
Google it?
You can. And I
wanna.
have, and I'm just telling you that somebody, literally a friend of mine says, hey, if you look this up, something Pornhub. And I'm like, dude, I'm not fucking falling for that.
Right,
Are you
right,
kidding
right,
me? And they're like,
right.
dude, they have things other than porn on Pornhub. I'm like, no, it's in the name. It's in the name. It describes what they are. It was a funny video, by the way.
Not a paid sponsor, but also interested.
Oh
Didn't know.
my God. Could you imagine? I mean,
All of a sudden we're
I think
just
I have
doing
to
this
change-
serious commercial for Pornhub.
I think I have to check into the ethical considerations regarding that, but I'm not opposed. I'm not.
You taught me something today because I had absolutely no idea that they had more than just porn.
They do.
Okay, that's good for people to know.
But I don't think it's worth the risk to look it up. I'm also putting that out there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
For all of your browsers histories, just take my word for it and don't do the same experiment that I did,
and
because
what's
now I have a
show
brand
up
new
in
phone.
your junk email and all
I'm not
kinds of
doing
shit.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden your phone is like, do you want to go live with people in your area? And I'm like, no, I do
They're
not.
probably in my court. No, I don't.
Those people aren't in
God.
my area.
They're not.
They're not. They're lying to me.
No.
And only the lonely men believe it.
Or all of a sudden you click on it and it's like, oh my God, there's my host for the podcast. Charnell, hi, it's me. I went live with Charnell on accident.
Right. Pornhub at Banshee.com. Just if you look up Banshees, all of a sudden that comes up.
There we go. We're there. It's our picture. This is another interesting fact about banshees. They only appear alone. Several have been known to appear at once to announce the death of someone great or holy. The only time that many are together means that this is like a really big person. So probably with Queen Elizabeth,
there were banshees.
There were several banshees
who gathered.
Otherwise, if you're not important, you only get one banshee. People, you can't have multiple. They're very busy. 3
screaming women at a bar in England. Those were the banshees.
Yes, impending of Queen Elizabeth.
You guys are all fantastic.
Yeah.
I love all of you that screamed.
Other legends say that Banshee is a ghost of a young woman who suffered a violent death, and that her spirit is said to warn of another impending violent death in the family. So that is only when the Banshee shows up as the spirit of a young woman, but sometimes she also appears as an old woman dressed in rags, but that is when it is a non-violent death.
So I like this because, and there's a ton of potential spin-offs in terms of stories we can look up, but in the female coming up, the white woman, like in the dress, who is singing, who's alone, who's beautiful. So these are like your white lady or gray lady stories that you get. And they're often by a body of water.
Yeah, always.
You're almost always. Or in a lighthouse or in a beach house or something like that. And I've heard there's
something to do
myths.
with water, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something water specific affiliated with banshees that you found?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
And the reason I ask is because, again, the Greek equivalent of that is a siren. And sirens are almost always affiliated with water.
I've never seen a siren story that wasn't affiliated
well,
with
because
water.
they have to be. Or a maenad or a naiad.
Yep.
And there's lots of them. Naiads, I believe, of the maenad variety are water specific or river specific. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, multicultural.
I actually think I do get to that.
Oh, I love this stuff.
In a minute. Yeah. So like I said, there's a distinction. If the banshee is a young spirit, then she is basically impending about a violent death. An old spirit that is dressed in like old rags, she doesn't necessarily equate to a violent death, but she does have, the old woman always has, and I feel her as I age, I get it. All right. She has blood red eyes that are filled with hatred and a look in her eyes that is like basically instant death. Like her eyes look like death. Yeah. She's seen some shit. She's
been married for over 10 years.
Yeah.
To the same man.
Yes. That is why she is worn down, people. I get it.
She doesn't care how she looks anymore. Just let them be red.
Mm-hmm. And her mouth, the old woman in rags mouth, is always hanging open and she's screaming.
Okay.
Yeah, I also
this is what you
get
picture.
that too.
Right.
Yep.
As I'm yelling, do the dishes. Who left the towels on the floor?
Right. Exactly. Will you fucking last for more than 5 minutes, Harold? Yes.
Yes, that's her mouth hanging open.
That's her mouth hanging open. Okay.
Harold got confused about what he was supposed to do in that situation. Give him a break.
Yeah.
Thelma.
She was screaming. So
all banshees should be named Thelma, by the way.
Thelma.
They're not Karens. They're way angrier than a Karen.
They are Thelmas.
They are a Thelma.
You're right. On the flip side of this, legend has it that scary and angry banshees that were used, that basically like we see in pop culture, right? They're kind of a scarier spirit. They are actually said to be celebrating death instead of mourning it because they hated the person who's about to die. So there is a folklore about that as well. Like in some cultures, these banshees are like, they're screaming in jubilation.
Charnell, when we die, we're going to come back as banshees with like serial killers, and they're going to see us before they die celebrating.
More often because we're going to be like, come on, bitches, come party with us.
Right. And you know what?
It's great on the other side.
I don't even want to be beautiful. I want to be scary with my jaw hanging down to my tits. Like, that's how I want to be. I want you to be scared, Dahmer. Fuck you, man.
Oh, shit. That is an excellent point that you raised. Can I be a banshee just for the horrific people who are about to die?
Yeah,
yes.
What a great job.
I would love for them to
St.
see
Peter,
me.
when I get to the gates, because I'll get there. I can get there. I'm working on it.
You will.
Okay. Can I pick my job? And is Banshee one of them? on the list because
Right.
I'm picking it.
I'm picking it.
Yeah.
But only for the really shitty people on earth. I want
the
them
scary
to
bad
know that they about to die, and I'm the one telling them that they about to die.
Right.
Oh my God, Megan,
And
you're
if
a
I
fucking
can work,
genius.
if I can work in, this is a true crime podcast brought to you by Crime Curious. Before they die,
Yes.
no advertising is bad advertising.
It's not even in the afterworld.
No, I'll ask Hades. He and I are tight.
Hades. I know I've been securing a seat for several years now, but I'm also working it on with the big guy. So
Yeah.
like, we're going to see how this goes. But if it ends up on Hades' side, can you give me a job? Can I have this job? Can I just
Are you
do
asking
some
me?
advertising? No, you're not Hades.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, I potentially people think so sometimes.
I bet you feel like
Mistress
Hades
of the Dark,
to some people.
Dungeon Queen.
Mistress of the Dark.
Well, when you're in charge of how and where the handcuffs go on, sometimes people consider this.
That's a nickname from your husband, isn't it?
I mean,
You just said how and where the handcuffs go on.
I plead the
Jason,
fifth.
call me if you need help, buddy.
He doesn't have access to a phone right now. I'm going to stop and bring home some food, though.
That's a good idea. That's a
we
good
don't like to
idea.
starve our prisoners.
No, we got to keep them alive. Oh, shit. So we told you guys this was going to be a fun episode and not like a real episode.
It's an accidental brain bath.
You know, it really is. This is kind of like what the brain breath episodes are like.
It is. But
Well,
I love more. I want to know more about Banshees.
We all needed a little bit of lightheartedness in our life today.
After the child cases we've had recently, yes.
All right. So, as I told you, some banshees have those red eyes and they have screams of torture, right? The thing that is very consistent throughout all of my research is that banshee stories have been tracked back to the 8th century in Ireland. That is like really where everyone has said that they existed, where women would, sing the song or whatever. And the mythology says that banshees will disappear in a cloud of mist when they're seen, followed by a sound of flapping wings. We got wings, Megan.
I do like that.
I like the wing aspect.
Like almost I can go with like a fallen angel.
Mm-hmm.
Or
crows.
An
angel in general.
Or crows.
Yeah.
Like again,
wings.
all of those
Very interesting wings. Yep.
Birds or an owl even. There are all kinds of birds that are associated with death. And obviously vultures and things like that.
Right. By the 17th century, the term banshee began to be used regularly and was very accepted as a regular way of life. Okay. Which makes sense. If you started in the 8th century, by the 17th century, it's going to be pretty commonly used. First-hand accounts of banshees go back all the way to 1380. This is first-hand accounts, with some reference of them in Norman literature. In the Middle Ages, the idea of the banshee was widely accepted in Ireland. They believed that the banshee would watch over the family until all of them died, like one banshee would watch
protector.
would watch over the family until all of them died, and they would see the same banshee prior to a loved one's death. They also thought that banshees watched over the main Irish families, which I found interesting. So like the O'Neills, the O'Connors, the O'Briens, the
Sullivans.
O'Grady's. Yep, the Kavanaghs, spelled with a K, not a C like we do in America.
Correct.
Human banshees supposedly started appearing soon after the first-hand accounts began in 1437, when a seer went to King James I of Scotland and basically prophesied his murder.
He prophesied his own murder?
A seer did. Went to King James and was
totally
like,
missed that. So a seer prophesied King James's murder.
Yep, King James I. Of his murder, and had said that this seer had been visited by a banshee.
Okay.
Yep. Another famous alleged encounter was recorded in the memoirs of Lady Fanshawe in 1649. She and her husband were visiting a friend when a piercing cry woke her up. At her window, she reportedly saw a pale, red-haired woman wearing white, leaning toward the window, who called out, "Ahone, ahone, ahone," or the Irish Oshone, which means alas, and is used to show great despair, like alas. which we actually still use that today.
So
Alas.
I'm a huge fan of Latin and also of root words in general. I have some history with those, and I love stuff like that. It has a historical basis, and then look how much is built upon that.
Yes, right. So apparently this Banshee said that, and they found out later that her friend's cousin, who was also staying there with them, had died overnight. So they believe that when this Banshee with red hair came to the window and was saying, Ochon, or alas, or ahon, however we want to interpret it, it still means doom, right? Was exactly when she was dying.
Yeah, so never trust a ginger, Andrea.
Andrea, we're looking at you.
If you show up to my house at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm not fucking letting you
Saying,
in. That's for damn sure.
Alas,
I'll throw you a Miller,
alas.
but nope, that's it.
Yep, I'll throw you a Miller. I'm dying.
I love you.
Oh, see a previous episode on Crime Curious where we met Andrea.
Right.
In 1801, the commander-in-chief of the British forces in Ireland allegedly received a visit from a Banshee after attending a party. Once back home, his guests, wife, and maid reported hearing sounds coming from the outside of the window. They said they heard the name Rossmore yelled 3 times. The next morning, they discovered that Rossmore had died at about the same time where they had heard Rossmore said 3 times.
Who's Rossmore?
Oh, one of their guests.
I mean, not to ruin the whole Banshee vibe here, but is it possible that a woman killed her lover Rossmore at the bottom of the window while she was screaming at him, and they decided to make that into a Banshee story? Just like to throw those in.
Rossmore.
You
Rossmore.
motherfucker.
You fucking never listen to me. Stab, stab, stab.
How about I saw you with the scullery maid?
Oh, yeah, good
Right?
point.
Yeah.
Rossmore, did you sleep with a scullery maid?
No.
Rossmore, are you listening to me?
Maybe.
Rossmore, did you sleep with a scullery maid?
My heart.
Yes.
The stab wound. Ouch.
Yeah, you're right.
We should be actors. HBO, if you would like to sponsor us, we are here for you.
Clearly, our accents are amazing.
First of all, I'm a huge fan of True Blood, and the acting is obviously better than that. So here we are.
Hit us up, though. Hit us up. So other stories highlight the experience of soldiers who have thought that they heard the Banshee's wail before they began the battle. Fucking terrifying.
This makes sense right here.
They were so terrified of their possible deaths that they abandoned the battles altogether.
Oh, shit, like dessert.
Yeah. Not
a
dessert,
deserter.
the kind that you eat.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify. Like as in deserters.
Yes, exactly. The fleeting soldiers were often killed by their enemies or their own armies due to the fact that they deserted their army.
Yeah, absolutely.
So literally it's like you hear the Banshee siren makes you leave, and then that causes your death. So the Banshee's still fucking right.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The things that we come up with in our human brains to explain things.
Even
Not saying banshees don't exist, people, but I'm just saying, just in case they don't, and I, again, am the naysayer here.
But that is where they say that
This is why and
hey,
how.
they impend the doom.
Yeah.
And here it is. Even the late 1940s produced alleged sightings in Ireland of the Banshee. There is a tale of an older man nearing death when a knock came at his door. When a young girl answered.
I dropped a dick. I'm so sorry.
Jesus! You can't be trusted to
Nope, it's fine.
stroke the sack if you're going to pop a dick
You're
out.
talking to me about scary things that I don't necessarily believe in that have to do with my history. And I was stroking a kangaroo sack and I lost a dick. I mean, it happens. Mind your own fucking business and just do the podcast. I'm going to pick my dick up here. I put it back in the sack.
Pour yourself some more witch's brew. Fucking A.
It was so loud.
It was.
Now I know how porn stars feel. They unzip and they're like, are you okay? She's dead. I killed her.
I'm gone.
She's crying. It's not that big, Charnell. You can take it. Come on.
That sound was so epic.
You're welcome.
It just happened. It was so familiar.
You did this to yourself. Is it?
Matt, where are you? Did he just enter the room?
No, he left. It was me.
I would believe that.
No, he's right there. He's outside.
Oh my God, he was outside our window right when I said that.
Son of a bitch. Maybe that sound was him.
My God.
In that case, congratulations.
I was just going to say I'm a lucky lady.
Here's some topical solution. We might have to delete this episode. I don't even know what to say right now. Are you okay?
Megan broke Charnell. Oh, shit. Banshees, not dicks, is what we're talking about today, right?
I just dropped it.
You did drop the dick.
Sorry. I dropped the dick. I dropped my dick.
You dropped the dick. Pick it up. Let's carry on. So, what I was trying to tell you is about this older man, and all of a sudden, he, when death was knocking on his door, I mean, it might be the same. He wasn't sure. Because all of a sudden, he sees a young girl. So, yeah, I think he did drop his dick.
Okay.
And he's fantasizing about a young girl. Basically, what happened is, hold on.
I hurt you. I'm so sorry. Just do that part over. Start the story over. I grounded myself from the sack.
Great. Now I'm stroking it.
Well, don't drop it.
So there's this tale of an older man who was nearing death, and they heard a knock on the door. He had a young girl in his house with him.
Weird.
The young girl, yes, it gives no other specifics
I'm
than
just
that.
going to leave it alone.
Mm-hmm. The young girl, of course, goes and answers the door because the old man is about to die. He's not going to answer it. She reports back that, there's a woman there that was moaning, an older woman dressed in white. She was moaning, she was crying, and I don't know what to make of this. And later that day, the man died.
That's fucking weird. I feel bad for her.
The real victim here is the young girl. Possibly in many ways. We don't actually know.
Fair.
Truly.
It's very fair.
But it has came, through, since that was from the 1940s, so it's came through time.
Wow. So that's probably our most recent historical case, right? Do you have some that extend past 1940s? I
have one in 1948. Mm-hmm.
Oh, 8 years later.
8 years later. And another tale.
Do you feel like SpongeBob? 8 years later.
8 years later. Yes. I do love SpongeBob. Don't tell anyone.
Oh.
Except for all of our listeners.
Except for all listeners. Don't worry.
All 10 of our listeners. I'm just kidding.
Just because we like SpongeBob does not mean that we're less intelligent.
No.
In general.
No. He's great. And in another tale, an older man had been suffering from what he thought was a toothache. He saw a white sheet, which his wife later thought to be his own death shroud. And his son allegedly saw a old woman moaning, which, remember, the old woman is supposed to symbolize a non-violent death. A young woman appearing is a violent death. So this kind of tracks.
I dig it because an old woman is going to welcome you. You're old. It's natural. She's going to welcome you into your death. And the young woman's going to be
unnatural. It's unnatural to die young. Yeah, this makes sense to me.
Irish folklore is resonating with me.
Although the man soon went to the doctor, he was beyond help and he soon died.
Just naturally, just died.
Probably an abscessed tooth.
Doesn't concern anybody that his wife saw the white shroud. Does anybody think maybe she helped him?
No, because remember, the Banshee appears to family members, not to the person who's dying.
I'm just
In other words, she's she's warning people you're about to mourn. She's not actually warning people that they're about to die. That's the Grim Reaper's job. She's like, not my circus, not my monkeys. I have one job.
Right. I'm just saying, if one perhaps didn't believe in supernatural things.
Oh, like Judge
just
Megan.
Throwing this out there. No, I mean, some things make a little bit of sense.
Track.
I can understand their cultural importance.
I got you.
Mm-hmm. But how easy would it be to say that you saw this while assisting him with the milk of the puppy? What? I'm just saying we can all be assisted in death from a toothache.
I leave it to you to bring up the milk of the puppy.
The milk of the puppy.
You're so right, though. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
It gets people in trouble still today. It's just called something different.
It does. That's true. So I'm going to take you to Bizarre Encounters with Real Banshees by author Brent Swesher. Okay. He did an online article.
PM me, Brent.
And he actually says he wrote, no, he didn't read, wrote. He read a book called True Irish Ghost Stories, and he tells of a family from Ireland who had a number of encounters with banshees. This is how the story goes, and I quote, My mother, when a young girl, was standing looking out the window in their house at Black Rock near Cork. Suddenly, she saw a white female figure standing on a bridge, which was easily visible from the house. The figure waved her arms toward the house, and my mother heard the bitter wailing of the Banshee. The vision lasted a number of seconds before the figure finally disappeared in the cloud of fog. The next morning, my grandfather was walking as usual in the city of Cork. He accidentally fell, hit his head against the curbstone, and never recovered consciousness, end quote.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And here's another one. Same book, the true crime, true Irish ghost stories. She said, this woman shared her story of the Banshee, and she said, quote, in March of the year 1900, my mother was very ill. One evening, the nurse and I were arranging her bed when suddenly we heard the most extraordinarily wailing, which seemed to come in waves around and under her bed. Naturally, we looked everywhere to try and find the source, but it was in vain. The nurse and I looked at one another, but we made no remarks to my mother, as she didn't seem to hear the mournful cries. At the time, my sister was downstairs sitting with my father. She heard the wailing and thought that some terrible thing had happened to her little boy who was upstairs in bed. She rushed upon his room, where she found that he was sleeping quietly. Oddly, my father did not hear the sound. However, the neighbors in the house next door heard it, and they ran downstairs thinking that something had happened to their servant. The servant was fine, but she said to them, "Did you hear the Banshee? Our neighbor must be dying." A few days later, the sick woman passed.
Very, very interesting.
So a lot of people heard it in that situation. Yeah.
You know, when you're dealing with legend in cult and or pop fiction like this, and it's not really pulp fiction, it's historic fiction.
Did you say pulp fiction?
Pop.
Oh, okay.
But pulp fiction is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that people needed to find explanations for things that they couldn't describe. And so whether you're talking about a Greek siren who we know was always near the water, or whether you're talking about an Irish banshee, think about the wind in these places. So you're talking about storms and wind and things off the ocean and unexplainable noises, and then the bad things that happen as a result. So I'm just throwing that out there, that sometimes you come up with things, or people come, and this is as early as, I mean, this is way BC. Before Jesus Christ, we have these stories coming up, correct?
This one was the year 1900.
This one but we're talking about
this
way
was
prior to that
122
as well.
years ago, but yes.
Well, that wasn't before Jesus, but I'm just saying other stories that you've said have.
Way prior to.
I like to give the devil's advocate or naysayers explanation for why some of these unexplainable things might have come about in terms of how you explain spirits and how you explain things like that. I mean, have you ever been outside on a late night when it's windy and it's cold? And I mean, first of all, you can creep your own fucking self out
all the time.
Yeah.
Always do. Scared of the dark.
Yeah.
My listening base knows that I'm scared of the dark.
So
absolutely.
I true story, and we can delete this if you want, but my favorite thing was, I'm a farm girl. I think you were too.
Yep.
But mine was more of orchard forest.
Okay.
So we weren't raising animals. We had trees.
Yep.
So 80 acres of pine trees, and people would come over to the house when I was in high school, and we'd take a walk back in the woods for various nefarious reasons.
Of course.
But I had zero problem with shutting the flashlight off and getting lost in the woods because I knew my property and probably with my eyes closed, and it freaked them all out. So we have to come up with explanations as to why things happen in the dark.
Yeah.
And it's just a brief example of how those things perhaps come about from scared football players who start crying in the middle of the field because they are lost and the cheerleader who was leading them back in there left them when they tried to cop a field.
Uh-oh.
I'm not saying I screamed like a banshee, but I am saying he cried later. And I let him back out of the woods, and it never happened again.
Right. I bet he kept his hands to himself.
Take control, ladies. Take control.
That's right.
Be a banshee. I want that on a t-shirt.
I super appreciate that, because as someone who doesn't want any of this stuff to be true, because
I know you do, but it's,
I don't want it to be true because I'm scared shitless.
My mom and sister will tell you that the house that she
appreciate that.
lives in is haunted.
And
really?
they can give you great stories of it. I come up with an explanation as to why all of those things have happened. They're 100% serious. And I don't pick on them about it because it is creepy and some of it is unexplained. But my brain likes to think that it's smarter than everyone else. And so I come up with a rationale for it because it makes me feel better.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. I like to have a total different rationale for it as well, which is why I don't even watch the horror things or anything like that. But we're branching out today. Now, there's another story, okay, that was heard by a student in 1894 in an Irish boarding school. So a boy had taken ill, and so he was put into a room by himself, quarantined. That'd be great, so he could rest. And the next day, he was visited by the school doctor. As the doctor was examining the boy, he suddenly sat up. He cocked his head to one side, and the doctor said, "What's wrong?" And the boy said, "Is that crying?" And then he said, "Can you hear it?" So the doctor strained his ears. He couldn't hear anything. And the doctor said that the boy must be hearing things due to his fever. But the boy persisted and said, "You can't hear that sound, that terrible crying sound. I know what it is. It's the cry of a banshee. I know because I've heard it before, and I'm afraid because I know what it means.
Oh.
When you hear the cry of a banshee, someone is going to die." The doctor tried to comfort the boy, who, after a while, settled down and went to sleep. The following morning, the headmaster received very sad news. A telegram arriving saying that the boy's brother had been accidentally shot and that he had died.
Shit.
Yeah.
See, I don't like that now. That bothers me because I like to explain things away in my own head. And that's just...
Here he is, and the doctor's like, "Wait a second. I was examining him, and he flat out heard this."
But I do believe that we can be subconsciously connected to people who are close to us, and you know it. You get the gut feeling. It's your kids, man. Have you ever had that feeling?
Yes.
Or if they're not returning your phone call for some reason, like, damn.
No, yep. Oh, I will openly tell you guys, you'll think that I'm fucking crazy.
Yes.
But my sister, actually, I text this to my sister. I had a very bad feeling about my son going into this football season.
Oh, okay.
I had a terrible feeling.
And it ended bad.
It did. It did end badly. But he was injured. His hand was injured when he was on vacation in Myrtle Beach this August. And I thought, okay, maybe that's what it is. And that's when I texted my sister and was like, I've just had this bad feeling, but it's still not going away. His hand was fine. He got the starting quarterback position. And in the very first game, as he had started, he got through 2 quarters before he was taken down with a severely bad shoulder dislocation injury that required him to have extensive surgery and be out for the rest of the year, of course. And his main sport is baseball, and he's a pitcher, so we're focusing on getting him back. But once that injury happened, that feeling left me, Megan.
Yeah.
That's what my feeling was about.
It culminated.
Is gone.
It came to completion.
And I was texting my sister and saying, I've had a really bad feeling about him after he hurt his hand, but I still had that. I'm like, but I don't know. I still feel like something bad is going to happen. And here it goes. So then my other son, who was also on the varsity team all year, he got through 5 games. This past Friday, he broke his collarbone. Yeah. So
I just mistook him for the other child.
You did.
Literally, because I was only looking at the sling. I didn't even look at his face. Right. I feel terrible. But yeah, shit.
Right. Here he is. But the thing is that after Jacob's injury, the whole time, people kept saying, well, at least you still have another kid to watch on the team. And I just kept feeling like, yeah, I do. Yeah, but it felt dark. It felt heavy. And I thought that it was because I was so sad for my oldest child who couldn't play. It's his senior year. It's his senior year, whereas our sophomore child could still play. That's what I chalked it up to. Well, here we go. Fast forward to 5 in the 6th game of the season, and he breaks his collarbone. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that is probably why I had that dark, heavy feeling, because I knew all along we weren't going to get through this season. And I still have one more child still playing in middle school football who had a dislocated rib that got put back into place.
This just goes to show that sometimes mother's intuition, people try to explain away in different ways. And there's a lot of lore that could have occurred from that. So again, going back Christ, and he was the start of one religion. We're talking going way back. Women had thoughts and premonitions and feelings about things that were going to happen. And that's just a really great example. Mm-hmm. of trying to explain away how you might have known that.
Right. I always tell people to trust their gut instinct, especially when it comes to parenting.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. That after researching some Banshee folklore, I had to go on Reddit. I had to go on the internet. I had to see what the internet had to say about their own personal experiences with Banshees. And they're out there. Look them up. They're out there. So one user had actually said, this is a story told to me firsthand from my father's experience. It's short and sweet, so here it is. My dad was about 18, 19 at the time with 2 other of his mates. They drove to some pub in a rural town. One mate was called Bert, and he said, you know what? I don't feel very good for the night. So when they pulled up to the pub, Bert stayed in the car.
I recognize this, Bert.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Bert was like, I pre-gamed too
Stay
hard.
in the fucking car, man. Have a good time.
You guys go to the pub. So this was around 9 o'clock. After getting completely blitzed and forgetting about him being left in the car. So then they go and check on him at about 11 o'clock. And I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not quoting this person.
Sure.
But basically what happens is he's sitting in the middle of the seat and he's like, you guys take me fucking home right now. And they're like, Bert, but we're having fun. Why do you want us to take you home? Like, you don't understand. He's like, there is a woman that stood in front of the car. She came flying up to the windshield and she was face to face with me. She was giving me a deathly scream with an open mouth so large that it was unhuman. She had an empty, blackless, like terrifying eyes, and she was just staring at me. And then she flew off in like a cloud of mist. And he said, I moved to the middle seat to feel less exposed from the windows because that's where she originally appeared. And then later the next day, Bert found out that his uncle was pronounced dead around 11 p.m. that night too. And yeah.
It's creepy. I'm over here like, see, I'd like to come up with an explanation for everything, but it's
when
creepy.
There's so many that are so similar, that's when I'm like, fuck.
I know.
I'm going to have a friend of mine, we're not going to use her real name, but she very much claims that she can see dead people. Like, not like the Sixth Sense I see dead people, but just like these random people. And she talks about this old lady that she sees in my house all the time. And some weird shit has happened in my house. I have
family members who resonate with her well.
And weird shit has happened in my house, but she has reassured me time and time again that this person is very
friendly.
Sweet.
It's friendly spirit.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. Last night, as a matter of fact, my son, who broke his collarbone on Friday night, of course, now has to sleep on the couch because he can't lay flat. Oh. And he woke up to the Mississippi, Texas A&M game. And he's like, I know He's like, I know I shut the TV off before I went to sleep. And my husband was like, yeah, I actually was the one that shut the TV off because you were asleep. But he woke up. The remote where he was at would not get the TV like at his angle, so he had to stand up and shut the TV off. And I was like,
power of voodoo.
I was like, okay, so maybe Grandma's a Mississippi fan, or maybe she a Texas fan. We don't know, but I appreciate that she is a college football fan.
I love the power of voodoo. Whether you go with the actual cult, which I'm going to explain later to you in a different episode, or you go with the labyrinth, it's the power of voodoo. Hoodoo, you do.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah. So he was like, and this is his words. He's like, I ain't about no grandma ghost messing with my sleep. I was like, well, listen, my friend has assured me that she's very kind. So that's all we need to know.
We should have her on.
She can stay here. I have tried so hard, and she says she's willing to come on. Okay. We've got to use a fake name for her, which I told her we absolutely could.
Ingrid.
We're going to do the porn star name. Her middle name and the name of the street she grew up on.
I love it so much.
So that's what she's going to be.
So if you hear Buffy Dobson, it's actually me, but it's not. But it's not.
And D. Watson is me. Buffy Dobson.
Fuck you. You're Miss Kitty from now on.
Your middle name is not Buffy.
No, that's the dog. It's Renee Dobson.
Oh, yeah.
There were 2 options. It was the middle name and the name street you grew up on, or it's the name of your first pet.
That's right.
That's why there was Miss Kitty for you and Buffy for me. Mm-hmm. I'm Renee Dobson, but sometimes the animal names are better because you're Miss Kitty.
I'm Miss Kitty. It just depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Another a spinoff of the spinoff. Miss Kitty and Buffy Dobson.
That's the Pornhub site, and I feel like it's going to make a lot more money.
A lot of money. Oh, God.
You got to edit that out.
Okay. I'm dying. All right. So my mom, here's another like real life explanation. My mom and her best friend Anna had a similar experience. They were about 16 at the time, and Anna's grandmother was dying, and my mom was spending that night to help take care of her. Anna's grandmother was sleeping in the room across the hall, and before they both went to bed, they checked on her to see if she needed anything. My mom recalled there being a creepy atmosphere in the room. Something wasn't right. Anna's grandmother said no, so they both went to bed. As Anna and my mom went into their room, they heard an extremely loud scream. My mom said it wasn't her grandmother. It was inhuman and demonic sounding. They both ran into their grandmother's room, and she had passed away.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a violent passing.
Yes.
Or a warning of
just
passing.
A warning. Yeah, I think so. Yep. So let's talk about what I had alluded to earlier about the very different version of the Banshee.
Yeah,
for
please.
the Scottish version. The very different version of the Banshee for the Scottish spirit, known as the washer of the ford. Not like the truck.
The fjord. FJ fjord?
It's F-O-R-D.
I feel like it's spelled wrong. I mean, I guess Norse or Norway would be fjord, but the washer of the ford.
The washer of the ford. The
washer of the ford.
The Ford F-150?
No.
So yes, this is the washer of the ford. She haunts desolate streams where she can be seen scrubbing the blood from the linen and grave clothes of those who are about to die.
You said water. You said river.
Yep, and scrubbing, that washer. Just like in the Irish folklore, how sometimes they are the washers.
But that's fjord too. Mm-hmm. That's why if there's a spelling thing with this, and maybe that's how they do that in Scotland, but I just got an accent all of a sudden, and it's not Scottish.
It's
English.
It is. Just
no,
a little bit.
I was in the governor, and I got my
Hello,
panties in a bunch.
governor.
Right. I'm so sorry. Please don't stop listening. Those fjords are riverways, waterways.
Yes, they are.
So we have a washer and a riverway.
Yep, that's
washing
right.
the blood from something.
Yep. And here's where it gets a little bit crazy. So the washer of the ford has a very distinctive feature. That's how it's spelled. So that's how I'm going to read it. Fjord. She is said to have unusually long, pendulous breasts that interfere with her washing. So this was created by a man.
No, that's what happens when I wash my floor.
Right. They get in the way. It's what happens when I golf.
Pendulous. Yeah.
I gotta
exactly. Golf. I blame that slice on my left titty.
Right. Exactly. The sons of bitches get in the way of my biceps.
They fucking do. They really do. I don't have biceps, but I do have long pendulous breasts. Cheers. Oh, don't worry. I didn't. It's okay. I'm just gonna break things.
Do that. I actually thought that was Matt outside.
No,
it might have been you.
I hit this with my elbow
through the headset.
It was the Banshee.
Like it was over there. Great.
I can't. Right. I was going scarier with that.
You were deeper. You were like, mine is way cuter than yours.
Yeah, yours is a fucking mouse. I want to give it some cheese and get it out of my cabinets.
No one is going to be scared of this.
No, but mine they might be.
They might be. That was terrifying. You're the elongated mouth, and I'm the violent death.
You're trying to say I'm the old crone, and you're the... Yeah, it's fine, Charnell. Whatever you need to tell yourself to make yourself feel better.
That's not what I meant.
Listen, in all fairness, I said earlier I'd rather be the white-haired crone.
You did.
I'll own it.
You
I
absolutely
do.
did.
I identify with her.
And then you went there with the... Right.
I can't right now. I just can't. I'm going to cry. I'm crying. Do I look like a drunk hooker? Is my makeup running?
No. Megan and Charnell's impersonation of Banshees. Yeah. Very different. Now I'm understanding where folklore comes from.
You obviously are Irish in descent.
I am, though.
Oh, you are.
Problem.
Your last name, your maiden name. That's true.
It is very. Oh, my Lord. We
are lost.
We went
4 hours into a Banshee presentation.
We went so off the rails that my computer shut itself down.
I know.
So let's restart it here. Okay, so we lost ourselves at long pendulous breasts.
Yes, that
mostly
happened.
because it's like, okay, this was clearly described by a woman. So what happens is she throws the breast over her shoulder, like a continental soldier.
Over the shoulder boulder helder.
Yes.
That's a do your tits hang low. Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie 'em in a knot? Can you tie 'em in a bow? Can you throw 'em over your shoulder like a continental soldier? Do your tits hang low? You're all welcome. That's $1.99 a minute.
Also, not scripted. I have no idea how
None.
Megan knows that song
Because
the
I
same way
grew up
that I
with
do.
the same pendulous breast that your grandmother did. Also, we're soulmates. Cheers.
How did we do that?
Because I know that song.
Y'all should know we had no idea.
0.
Woo! So, also, those of you that sang along with us, we love you.
Call me.
Because I know there were so many.
Send me a PM.
So, basically, what they're saying is she takes these breasts, she throws them over her shoulder, and she lets them hang down her back. And those who see her must not turn away, Megan. Instead, he must quietly approach her from behind, take hold of one of her breasts. I'm dying right now.
This is a Saturday night so far.
Hold on. Put it in his mouth.
The breast?
Mm-hmm. Pretend to be nursing from it and claim to be her foster child.
What?
Only then will she tell him whose clothing it is that she is washing. And if she says that the clothing belongs to an enemy, he can allow the washing to continue, but if the clothing belongs to him, he can stop her from completing her task and avoid his fate, all by suckling at her supple breast that she can fling over her shoulder.
What the fuck?
Scotland. The fuck, man? What is up with this?
First of all, that just moved to the #1 spot that I want to visit. Because
suddenly my #1 destination.
You know why? Because if Scottish people find that attractive, I am their girl.
There you go. Just
you want a saggy titty?
Pendulous breasts that interfere with her washing.
A saggy titty over the shoulder, and I'm there, and you guys will love me.
She lets the breasts hang down her back so that they don't interfere with her washing. And at that point in time, the man who can see the titties on her back suckles at them quietly like an infant.
Right.
And asks,
as they are.
Asks through tit, hey,
her.
whose clothes you washing? And if she says his enemy, he's like, okay, carry on here. We have no problems. If she's like, yours. Clothes, then he's like, let's keep going.
Son of a bitch. Listen here, you insufferable ginger. If you are going to suckle on my breasts like this, and I'm going to forgive you your death because you have inquired and asked me not to, this at least should result in an engagement ring or a really good fucking pint of Guinness, which I understand is not Scottish in origin. But what else am I? Oh, I'll have a Lagavulin 18. Give me some scotch. I love me some scotch. I want a peaty.
There you go.
I want a smoky. I want it to hurt my heart a little when I drink it.
I just want you to know that all it says that if the clothing belongs to him, he can stop her from completing her task and avoiding his fate, but it doesn't actually say how. But I think we all know if he's gotten to third base, we know how he's going to complete this task.
I was just going to say leave it to a man to stop a woman from coming to completion. Thank you.
Well, that's what happens.
I'm like, this is when you're almost there and you're like, well, you ruined it.
This folklore tracks.
You ruined it.
Suddenly, we know.
And all of a sudden, the Scottish folklore of the Banshee has to do with stopping a female orgasm. Congratulations, fellas. Drink your scotch.
I think we've cracked the code.
So our first on-site location should be in Scotland so we can change this myth.
Right. That is all I have on the folklore of the Banshee.
I've loved all of this. Everybody who wants to send us hate mail, send it directed to Megan because I love everything that you just gave me. This all makes me happy.
Listen, we needed something different from how the horrific pedophiles and murderers of children that we've had lately, and women in general, and men. There are plenty of men who have been victims of murder.
Thank you. When people plead guilty or not guilty, no one ever pleads Banshee. And so that's why I like this.
Pleading Banshee. I saw the Banshee. I knew death was coming.
Banshee.
Yeah.
And I say I'll enter a no contest on your behalf, sir. Ma'am.
On your behalf. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not an honest plea, but I like it.
Oh my God. Please tell me if anyone has pled Banshee.
It'd be worth the giggle.
It would. It really would. If
Maybe
you're going to
not.
plead non-guilty anyway, you might as well throw a Banshee in there.
Not guilty by reason of Banshee.
Yes. I actually really think that the folklore is interesting, but I got to say, between the Scottish and the Irish, the Scottish one is very different. That they both have washers though in their folklore, and I did find that interesting of like washing out the blood. But I'm intrigued by the fact that a man can come up to a woman and say, "Hey, what laundry you scrubbing there?" And depending on, you know, if he does it correctly, like first you got to put her titty in your mouth. And then you find out, is it your enemy? What though, Megan, I ask you, what if it's not your enemy and it's not you and it's just a random person? What do you do in that situation?
Enjoy the titty in your mouth.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think that we have a more sexualized version in the Scottish, and that's why I would be interested with our Irish and Scottish listeners, not because I want to start any type of a civil war, but I would be interested in hearing your perspectives on how you think that mythology evolves, because there's usually a reason for it. I actually, by the way, find both of them endearing. Mm-hmm. In fact, the Irish can be a little bit scarier. Mm-hmm. Even though that's my heritage, a little bit. And just the thought of somebody wanting to, you know, put their mouth on my nipple actually makes a lot more sense.
It does me too. And now
you know what make me feel better when a woman screams randomly for no reason?
Yes.
Is I would just put her breast in my mouth.
A man's titty sucking too hard. This makes sense.
Yes.
The Scottish actually have it figured out.
I think they do. Mm-hmm. And also, remember, we're talking about this. You know, you've got whiskey and scotch, and they're very similar beasts. But as a drinker and connoisseur of both, I'm actually a bourbon drinker because I like to keep it local. You know, go USA.
Of
USA,
course.
USA. But if I had to choose between an Irish whiskey, sorry guys, my heritage, or a scotch, I like me a scotch.
Yeah.
With one ice cube and a tiny spit of water to open it up. But that's just because I'm
just a little spit of water.
Maybe I drink too much. We don't even need a brain bath because the whole thing was a brain bath.
I actually don't have a brain bath because this was almost like a brain bath episode. I have to do the talking.
I love it.
How do you want me to drink and talk at the same time without the listeners constantly hearing this?
Next week, you're going to drink everything because I'm going to talk the whole time.
Echoing in my cup.
This is what they would hear if I'm constantly drinking. The Witch's Brew is amazing, though. If you guys have never had it, it really is from Leelanau Cellars. They're not a paid sponsor, but we do love all of their stuff.
So it's up the Leelanau Peninsula is up where, if any of you know where Suttons Bay, Michigan is, and it's a beautiful part of the United States. And Traverse City's up there too, which is something more people hear of. But we love the Leelanau Peninsula. And again, my daughter is a baker up there at an establishment that we hope to record from sometime very soon, actually, if they will allow us to come there. So shameless plug and shout out to my baker at 9 Bean Rose in Suttons Bay.
That's right. And so, all right, well, we hope that you guys enjoyed this little bit of a different episode for Crime Curious today. And maybe we're going to make this a spinoff where you just learn interesting facts and learn about some alcohol. We got some shit.
I'm good at all of them.
In the works. So, all right, until next time, everyone, we hope you have a fabulous day and take care.
Bye-bye. Damn it. Bye-bye.
I know. I fucked you up.
Motherfucker, start over. Do it all over, Charnell. And you can even keep that in.
All right. Keep it curious and have a nice day.
Bye-bye.